the strength of this team right now, linebackers and DBs, whereas our defensive front seven, they were the heart and soul. You know what I'm saying? We had some boys up front with Jason Hunter, Marcus Morrell, Omar Byram, Joe Suter. Those boys used to do some work on that defensive line, and it just made it that much easier for everybody else on the defense. You know, so that was a real big part of it, and that's a real big difference between the two defenses. Offensively wise, you know what I'm saying, they're more running back by committee right now. They have a lot more speedy receivers than we had. We maybe had a couple with Dexter Jackson and who else? And he was really our only speed guy, to tell you the truth. And maybe sometimes we would bring in T.J. Corman, who was a freshman in that 05 season or whatnot. But other than that, we had possession receivers, and we had one big receiver, which was William Mayfield, who we converted from linebacker. And as far as running back by committee, like they have, we had the brunt of the load on Kevin Richardson, which was a sophomore that year. So, you know what I'm saying, they can bring in a lot of different pieces and parts to the puzzle and still keep rolling. But we mainly had our guys, you know what I'm saying, and that's what we rolled with. We really couldn't change out too many guys, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, and obviously with, like you were talking about, we had Mayfield converted from linebacker. We had Richardson, who was a walk-on sophomore, getting the brunt of the load. There had to have been more. There just that team, that unit had to be just a cohesive unit, and I think that's what won the championship for you guys. Essentially, you guys were just a team.
I tell people all the time, that was the closest team that I've ever been a part of. We spent all summer together and the whole season together, and I'm talking about on and off the field. That whole summer before 05 season, everybody was up in Boone the whole summer. Every weekend, we already worked out together, lift weights and everything every day, but even when we would leave off campus, every weekend we would all cook out together. You know what I'm saying? Old linemen, defense, everybody. We would meet up at somebody's apartment and we all just hang out. And that really helps the team, man, to tell you the truth. So we were really more like family. And I tell a lot of people that's what these guys need to get back to right now. You know what I'm saying? That's a big difference between 05 and then right now. You know what I'm saying? So if they can get back to that family atmosphere, everybody for everybody, and that would really help out.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that coming along, especially with leadership under Jamal and Kimbrough taking the defense. I think we've seen that coming along, and we've seen this team grow in only half a season, essentially. I'm excited to see what we could do, make this playoff run after a disappointing loss to ECU and a horrible loss to Citadel at home. We've seemed to have grown and are just getting better week by week, and it's great to see that.
Exactly, man. And sometimes losses like that, you need them so they can put everything in perspective. I know that really helped us out, especially when we went down and lost to Furman. We just knew we had to tighten up the reins and take it one game at a time. We couldn't overlook anybody. You couldn't try to look to the playoffs. We, tell you the truth, we never even started thinking about a national championship until maybe second round of the playoffs. All we wanted to do was just make it in the playoffs, make it to the playoffs, and then we'd go from there. And once the brackets came out, we won that first home game. We were like, okay, we got a chance to run the table because everybody has to come through Boone. And we hadn't lost a home game at Boone since my freshman year. You know what I'm saying? So that was real big, and you got to take it one game at a time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I remember those years vividly. I was still a student, and I remember them very vividly, those cold games, and especially that 2005 semifinal game against Furman when I believe it was Orlebar that picked up the fumble and almost ran it back.
Yeah, that was Omar. Yeah, Omar picked that fumble up.
Omar, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that was the 2005 season was just incredible on a lot of different levels. That was that was my senior year up in Boone as well, and it was just and obviously it continued for a couple of years there after I graduated as well. The 05 season was just the start of so many great things for the Appalachian program, and since then I think we've seen a pretty significant rise in attendance and upgrades to the overall athletic facilities.
Yeah.
Compared, where they are now compared to, 2002 when I started going to school at Appalachian, it's really night and day.
Exactly.
It really is something else. And what is your kind of general impression of the game day experience in Boone today, as opposed to, kind of where it was when you started? And, if you could maybe just give maybe one of your fonder memories of playing in front of the home crowd.
Man, the home crowd was always great for us. But I can remember 2003, 2004, we have a home game and the stadium is half stacked. You know what I'm saying? I remember people just leaving at halftime. Like, to 2005, you know what I'm saying, we started to pick it up. Tailgating started picking up. As we started to roll through the season, you'll see more and more people coming to the games. And I remember the one game that actually did it, the last home game of the season, that Western game. And it was over 25,000 people there. Yeah, people sitting up in the trees on the hill. And that I could honestly say that game right there was like the turning point of the whole, you know what I'm saying, the whole home field advantage thing. And from that point on, man, for the next few years, to start sellout after sellout after sellout. But, yeah, like I said, I can remember back to when you maybe had half the student section full, nobody on the visitor side, man. So the crowd home game atmosphere has come a long way.
Yeah, it definitely has. And just kind of follow up what Mike was saying. What's your fondest memory of playing up in Boone, other than the championship game, this championship years?
Oh man, I have many, but maybe my favorite game in Boone is the 04 win versus Furman. You know what I'm saying? I went 40 for 45 that game, for over 400 yards, couple touchdowns, and then ran it in at the end for the game winner versus Furman. Man, we were going back and forth that day, and we ended up beating them by 1 point. And I've never felt exhausted after a game, but after I scored that touchdown, it's like I could barely even breathe, man. Like, we left it all on the field that day. And, yeah, that was one for the ages. Man.
I remember that game. I was one of the several thousand that rushed the field. And
yeah.
Yeah, I remember that game too. I think around that time, Furman was, obviously they were at the time still a very, very powerful program, and I think at that time they must have been wondering what they would have had to do to get out of Boone with the win after that game, and then after the 2002 game with the miracle on the mountain. Yeah, that was. Yeah, that was a couple of great games. We had some classics with them, and I'm hoping the game this year is not quite so close. But we've had some good ones with them. They've not won a Boone since then, so we gave Coach Stepp a hard time about that when he came on. So.
Oh yeah, you got to give him a hard time, man.
Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight, Richie. We really appreciate it. I know all our listeners are going to appreciate hearing an App State legend on the air. So. Thank you once again, and hope you can make it up to more games this year.
All right, cool, man. Appreciate y'all having me on, and I'll keep following you guys on Twitter, and make sure you keep following me. I'm trying to do some little posts and updates and pictures and stuff from while I'm at the track, just to give like a little inside experience, you know what I'm saying, from being at the track with NASCAR and things like that. So just stay tuned.
Sounds good. If you want, go ahead and give our listeners your handle on Twitter so they can start following you.
Oh, okay. Everybody out there, if you don't mind, go and follow me at NASCAR QB. That's at NASCAR QB. And I promise you, I'm trying to get some good stuff out there for you. It's only like 5 races left, but rolling into next season, we have it up and rolling real good. I'm new at the Twitter, so just be patient with me.
All right.
Thanks again, Richie. We really, really appreciate it. Wow. The only thing I could say, it was great to be able to talk to Richie. I mean, it was great to talk to an App State legend and the start of our the quarterback at the start of our championship years. So it was, and what was awesome about it is he's such a humble guy, and you could tell he really loves the black and gold. He's just a down to earth, real humble, and it was great talking to him. So thanks again, Richie. We cannot say enough about how much we really appreciated you taking your time to come on our show. And as a token of our appreciation and all of App Nation, we're very grateful to have such an excellent person represent us and the Black and Gold in App State. So thank you again, and make sure you guys all follow him on Twitter. I know you probably heard, but his handle is at NASCAR QB. Go ahead and follow him and get those NASCAR updates from him. So this is the point of the show where Mike is no longer with me. It's just me for the rest of the show, so I apologize for my monotone voice and everything, and I am a little under the weather, so I'm rather hoarse, so I apologize for that as well. But for the remainder of the show, I'm going to go ahead and be talking about our upcoming game against Wofford. As Mike and I talked about earlier, this is a huge game, and the winner of this game essentially gets an edge in the first place race for the Southern Conference. The winner of this game or the loser of this game rather gets the second loss in the Southern Conference, and that's just huge with this race being so close. And as always, Wofford is going to be coming in with their triple option attack, and as we know, we had a very difficult time defending that against the Citadel when they came into the Rock, and there's no other way to put it other than they absolutely dominated us on the ground, and the Terriers are obviously going to be wanting to do the same exact thing. The Wofford comes into Boone. They have a league-leading 40.5 points per game, and they also tout the second-best scoring defense. Then they're only behind Georgia Southern, and they only allow 14.2 points per game. However, these numbers are a little skewed, only because up until the last weekend when they played Georgia Southern, the teams that Wofford have played had a total combined 4 wins against Division I competition. So they've had a fairly easy schedule to start the season, so those numbers are likely a little skewed. But at the same time, we know Wofford's a good team. They always have a good team, so we can't take that for granted by any means. And last weekend they played at Paulson Stadium against the Georgia Southern Eagles, and they couldn't score a touchdown. They lost with a score of 17-9, like we talked about earlier in their around the SoCon segment. And Eric Breitenstein, he's a senior and he's a Watauga County native, so he's by far their best player, and he's coming off an ankle injury from that Georgia Southern game. He's questionable, but I don't think there's any way that he misses this game and misses his last chance to beat App in Boone. Assuredly, his family will be in presence, and there's no way he's going to miss this game. I don't think, ankle injury or not, he's gonna play in some aspect, I believe. And so far on the season, he has 995 yards, and he's averaging a stellar 165.8 yards per game, and has 9 touchdowns so far on the season. So obviously the guy can play ball. He's a great running back in the triple option attack. And so our goal has got to be to stop Breitenstein, or should he not play, whoever fills in for him in the rushing attack. Like I mentioned earlier, when we played Samford this past weekend, we absolutely dominated essentially Fabian Truss. He had a great receiving game, but rushing wise, he didn't do that well. He was well below his season average, well below everything in his rushing attack. So I like what I saw out of that, but the wrinkle in it is Wofford does run that triple option, which is all about misdirection and that sort. So it's a lot easier to defend a Fabian Truss who runs in a traditional pro style offense versus Wofford, who runs in a triple option. And so, but the point in this game has got to be stopping the rushing attack, as Wofford only has 344 yards in the air, and that equates to an average of 57.3 yards per game through the air. So their quarterback, he's not great at throwing the ball, or if he is, he hasn't shown it, just because they do run the ball a lot more, and they've essentially up until last weekend have been dominating their competition, so there's been no need to throw the ball. The key to this week is going to be assignment football. We have to play our assignments. That's what absolutely killed us against the Citadel. We had way too many players not playing their assignments, and Citadel just took advantage of it. There were way too many times where we had two players going after the quarterback